Hello and welcome to Verbal to Visual Video. I'm your host Doug Neill, and today I would like to focus on how you might use visuals to help you communicate your ideas with others. Within the Verbal to Visual classroom, we just finished up a module on that specific topic, on how to use visuals to help you communicate and share your ideas with others. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you one small piece of that module. Specifically, I'm going to share an experience from my own past when I had the opportunity to chat with some students at Pleasant Hill High School, my alma mater, and let them know about my path since high school that ultimately led me to doing all of this work within the field of visual thinking. My hope is that this specific example might spark some ideas for you for the next time that you need to share your ideas with others. Let's get into it. So, before I delved into my own journey since high school, I wanted to start by getting to know the students in the classroom a little bit. So I asked, in a circle, we went around and asked people to share their name, what they like to do in their free time, and then also a memorable newspaper story or yearbook page that they themselves had created. That was a fun way to get things started and get to know the students that were there in the classroom. After they shared, I also added my own responses. My name, of course, being Doug, what I like to do in my free time being hiking and exploring the outdoors. And the story that I wrote in high school was about the two soccer coaches at our high school here, both of whom were from Scotland and had played either semi-professional or professional soccer in Europe before coming to the US and starting to coach. The goal of this conversation with the students there, as I've mentioned, was to describe the path that I had taken since I graduated high school in 2004 to then, which was 2014, largely because many of the students were about to start that path, and all of them were no more than a few years away from exploring what happens after high school. So I started to tell my own story, and starting with my junior year of high school when I took a trip to Washington, D.C., which kind of broadened my perspective and made me want to read more about the world. Specifically, I was interested in science and read Cosmos by Carl Sagan, which got me interested in physics, which ultimately, after graduating from high school in 2004 and for the first time asking this question, okay, what comes next? I decided to go to Willamette University, which is up in Salem, Oregon, to study physics, and also got very interested in Spanish within my first few years there at Willamette. And my junior year of college was able to spend an entire year studying abroad in Ecuador, which was an amazing experience, but also led to a little bit of a difficult decision upon graduating college. Again, asking that question, okay, what do I do next? Do I pursue physics, which I'm still interested in, or do I pursue Spanish, which I ended up doing a double major in each of those, or do I do something else entirely? What I went with was physics, and moved from Oregon across the country to Boston and attended Northeastern University, and was part of a PhD physics program there, which entailed schoolwork, obviously, learning about physics, and included some teaching as well, being a graduate student teacher, and also doing some hands-on research. I enjoyed the research a lot. That was a lot of fun. Doing practical, real things in the lab was very cool. I also enjoyed the teaching part, as you might imagine. The school part didn't resonate with me very well. I didn't particularly like the way we were going about studying physics. For me, it was too much of a quick, broad overview and not enough kind of delving into taking the time to really understand some of these deeper concepts and connections in the realm of physics, which was part of the reason I enjoyed the subject in the first place. So that disconnect for school in particular led me to move on from that program, realizing after a year that wasn't the right fit for me. So I had to again ask the question, what next? And about that same time, I had gotten my first ever iPod Touch and was somewhat mesmerized by the ability to make things happen on a screen by touching it and moving it. That was a very cool experience. And I decided I wanted to try making apps. So that's what I did. I had enough of a computer programming background via some of the physics instruction and working with some of the equipment and experiments involves interacting with the computer and writing some computer programming. So I had enough of a background to kind of delve into that on my own, and I ended up making 4 iPhone apps that I was very proud of, all in the category of nerdy math puzzle games, which I was pretty proud of myself for creating the thing that I envisioned and that I set out to create. But as far as an income generator, I made a total of $57 within the 2 or 3 months that these were out there. So kind of realized that wasn't particularly a feasible career path right away, that it was a quote unquote failure in some ways and a success in others. But again, I had to ask that question, what comes next? I realized that I had liked the teaching component, and that had been kind of a common theme throughout my life, even in high school and college, where I had done some tutoring along the way during those years. So I decided to attend Pacific University back in Oregon, went to grad school to get my Master of Arts in Teaching. So some of the things involved in becoming a teacher: learning a lot about education theory, curriculum design, putting together an educational experience. There's also a daily grind component of being a teacher within a structured system. So I enjoyed the education theory part quite a bit. I also enjoyed curriculum design, designing educational experiences. But based on how I named the last piece, wasn't too happy about the daily grind, and noticed that very quickly within the education system that I was involved in here in Oregon, the resulted in my case in a large lack of sleep, not getting enough exercise, quite a bit of stress. I wasn't eating very healthy, and I wasn't getting enough social time. So there was a lack of balance there in my life that I was finding after getting that degree and kind of jumping into the world of a full-time and part-time teacher. So what I kind of recognized there was, for me at least, there's this comfort zone, right? Then there's this region outside the comfort zone where I think meaningful growth occurs. But outside of that second boundary is the danger zone. And for me, it felt like teaching was just outside of the, not only outside of my comfort zone, but outside of that space where meaningful growth can occur. So again, I had to ask that question, what do I do next? It was right about this time when I came across Sunny Brown's TED Talk, which is where this stuff starts happening. Her talk, Doodlers Unite, combining words and visuals together, and how that really lights up the brain. And it was this cool combination of something a bit somewhat artsy, which I had never been involved in, but was kind of intrigued with and wanted to pursue, but also nerdy, which is more in line with the things that I'd been up to previously. So for me, that was kind of the perfect combo to pursue. So I was like, yes, I want to explore that. Let's see where that goes. To do that exploring, I started a blog and shared my progress as I was learning how to do this sketchnoting and doodling and visualizing of ideas. And it was at that point, after I had been, putting these sketch notes, writing a little bit of article to go along with it, when I realized there was kind of a connection between what I was doing on this blog and what I had done in high school, being on the Billy Bulletin staff. That's the name of the high school newspaper. That as part of that newspaper staff, that was the first time when I had kind of written something intended for other people that was published and that went out and that other people read, even in the Billy Bulletin case, just within the local and high school community. But now I was kind of expanding that and doing that via the blog and sharing it with the world, which was kind of a cool parallel to make, particularly talking to students there within that publications classroom. That website was thegraphicrecorder.com. where I would listen to podcasts and watch videos and go to live events and sketchnote them and share those sketch notes and what I was learning, both the material that I was learning from those different learning experiences, but also how I was going about developing the skill of sketchnoting, visual note taking. And at first my sketches were very clunky. Here's the very first sketch note that I ever shared on thegraphicrecorder.com. I forget which program I was using, but I was doing this on my computer with a tablet. So I was doing some drawing, but it also had the ability to type in some text. So you see that combo there. But over time, those sketches started to get better. My skills improved slowly as I experimented with different materials, different styles, and eventually, because I was publishing, putting my work out there, and slowly people started making it to that blog, that website, The Graphic Recorder, where I was sharing these sketches, people started to request that I sketchnote something of theirs, and they offered to pay me for it, which was a cool transition into the thinking that, wait a minute, maybe I can make some sort of a career out of this. And I also started doing video illustrations. This right here is a photo of the very first video illustration that I ever did. It was for a TEDx event in Portland, doing these kind of fun intro slides. And it's kind of weird to look back on that, because now this is what I do for a living, essentially. I make these videos each week that you guys are seeing. You're in the middle of one right now. That's kind of cool. And at the time I was working on a book. The first iteration of the title was the Sketchnote Skill Builder, but this is what turned into the Verbal to Visual Notebook, which you might be familiar with. And it really was at this point, and particularly at this time when I was having the conversation with these high school students, that I was just starting to make that connection back to teaching. I had spent all this time exploring visual note-taking, sketchnoting on my own. I was starting to think about, okay, I've always liked teaching. Let's see if I can apply my background in education to this world of visual thinking. At the time, verbal to visual didn't exist yet, but that was the very first step that then a little bit later led to verbal to visual and led to this classroom. So what I realized there, that combine a creative pursuit with something that you're passionate about, that also helps other people, that there's the opportunity to make a career out of that, which was a fun message to share with those high school students that would soon, probably already were thinking about a career or what that might look like. So the 3 pieces of advice that I ended the conversation with was, 1, be sure to follow a path that intrigues you, not one that you feel obligated to take. And that if you can, share your stuff along the way. Find an avenue to share what you're learning, because there are a lot of potential benefits that come from that. And look for ways to help others, no matter what you're doing and what creative pursuit you are going after. And then I ended up with a way for people to stay in touch if they were interested. So that there is a quick, hopefully not too rushed version of the chat that I had. There was some interaction along the way. You got the talking only version of it, the me talking only version of it. That was it. That was the chat that I had with the publications class at Pleasant Hill High School back in the spring of 2014. I hope that example sparked some ideas in your own mind about how you might use more visuals the next time that you need to share ideas with others. Maybe it also even broadened your mind to the potential career opportunities within this field of visual thinking. In either case, if you'd like to dig deeper into this topic of using visuals to share ideas with others, check out the Verbal to Visual Classroom. We have a growing number of resources there, and I think that you will like what you find. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.